Hello everybody, and welcome back to Ethlor Plays Go. Today we have a video that was sent in. This is the first game that I've had sent in by a viewer, so I want to thank you very much for sending the game in. I took a look, and yeah, we'll go through it. But before we get into it, I just wanted to take a look at, or just outline some of the context behind this game. So the user sent this in, said that they started playing in February of 2021, playing mostly on 9x9, since they're shorter and they're easier to get those games in. They were inspired by what I said about Handicap Go, and so they've been trying some 19x19 because they haven't played it very much in the past. They said that they're about 5Q in terms of their 9x9 play, and they might be, well, between 5 and 6Q, but they're about 5Q right now. So they're playing relatively well relative to their level. And they got this two-stone handicap game here, and they kept what I said in mind, and they played it, and they ended up winning, and then they wanted to see what my thoughts in the game are. So here we are. I've taken a look through the game. As you can see, I've made some notes, and we can start going through it. So let's take a look. So here, the first thing that I want to mention, so we have the viewer as white, and up to here, this is Joseki, so this means that this is even for both sides. Once again, if you can consider Joseki as things that you do every day. You wake up, you have a cup of coffee, you sit at your computer, you go to the office, you go to work. That's Joseki. You know, it's stuff that's routine. And the way how it's defined is basically moves that result in an even position for both players. So what happens is normally the Joseki is to extend to here. So this is the very most basic Joseki that gets taught to beginners. When I was beginning to play the game, this is not even just beginners, it's just what people would play. These days, it's not quite as common because of the way how A is positioned, but that's not what's so important right now. What's most important is that black plays 6 instead. So let me remove A and B from the board. And so we can see that white instead, the viewer plays 6. And what's interesting about this move is that if you imagine the move order, so we imagine instead that we play 1, 2, 3, I think it was 4, 5, 6. So what's the probability that you'd play D18 now? The answer is probably not a lot. I mean, locally, you would much rather play something like this, and maybe black responds, then you come down. That's already a little bit better. But you would also probably just play here instead, because attaching at C18 is maybe not so big. So you'd rather just make a base. So black has this strong position, and you want to make sure that you have some eye space here to make sure that you're not attacked. So like this. The idea is that if black comes out from the other side here, you know, white is easily able to get into the center, and is most likely going to be able to make 2 eyes later. It's a bit probabilistic, it's not certain. You know, obviously, like in Go, the details matter, so, you know, that might not be true. But the point is that white can consider themselves to have a strong group, relatively strong group. Black doesn't follow up on this, so what I mean to say is that black should pincer this, and white will come out, and now this is a weak group. And in a handicap game, this would be pretty bad for white because, well, it's the hand on a 2-stone handicap. Maybe the advantage isn't so big. Like, you can kind of consider a 2-stone handicap as being like almost an even game. So in an even game, having a floating group like this so early in the game is not great because it doesn't have a base. You're not likely to make 2 eyes in the future, and that makes this group a bit of a liability. That's not always true, but you know, if you had the option to make a strong group, then why would you want the floating group instead? So that's the reason why it's a bit not so great. So both players miss this, which means that this is an idea that neither player really has in their mind, which is fine. You know, it happens sometimes. You know, just like the viewer, you know, they've played 9x9 for their whole Go playing career, which means that they have very good reading. And this is one thing that I really noticed when I reviewed the game, is that they do have quite sharp reading, I think. But these kinds of like simple ideas are what's missing. But that's fine. If you play the game, you send it to review, you get some ideas, then we can quickly fill these ideas in. So not to worry. You've come to the right place. So white comes into the corner. I think I mentioned in the past, or in the games I've been playing on OGS, that this one space extension is quite popular right now, and it also makes sense because it's facing, you have a fourth stone that's facing a third line stone, so that makes sense as well. So black comes in, and one thing I want to mention is so what happens in the game is that we have this position and white plays away. Normally, and to be fair, I don't know strictly why. I think this is Joseki basically. The idea is that white can capture this stone later and have a living group, so that's quite nice. But for black, if they just play away now, then white can play this move, and that's pretty nice as well. So white gets a nice corner, and black doesn't really have any points, and depending on how things go, it may become a weaker group later. So yeah, so this is why. So if you can get away with a move like this, then white connects solidly here. But no big deal. Black just plays this, and if you just play here, then it transposes anyway. It's fine. So I think the other thing the really important thing that I wanted to mention is to be prepared in case black comes in this direction. So in the game, black chose to play here, but black can choose this instead. So if black does this, then, I mean, normally, I think in modern times, you'll have this exchange, but let's assume we don't have this exchange for now, then you will expect to see something, something like this. So just make sure that, you see this now. Make sure you kind of understand why each move is being played. It's not so difficult. You're trying to make enough ice space to live. Black is trying to constrain you, and you push against each other, trying to get what you both want. And black gets a strong outside. White is able to live. That's why it's Joseki. It's even for both players. So just beware, just know that this variation exists, and just be prepared in case they play that instead. And here, the move order was a bit not quite right, and then white plays away, and black plays here. So up to here, this is all okay, no problem. And I guess this move is a bit, I'm not quite sure why you play this move, but it's not a mistake. So I shouldn't focus on this too much. Here, this is really interesting because white plays away, and that allows black to capture these stones. I normally wouldn't recommend this because in handicap games, if black becomes solid, then that's extra good for black because they have an advantage, and being strong helps them to maintain that advantage. So I wouldn't recommend, even in an even game, playing away here is probably even, because by capturing, black gains, they gain the thickness, but they also gain, 6, 8 points, and then maybe say we have counts 2 of these on, so that's 10 points, and then this move here is easily that's easily a 30-point-ish move, just roughly. I won't go into the details of why. It could be more, it could be slightly less, but the point is that these stones are not necessarily heavy enough that you might want to save them now, but that's in an even game. If it's a handicap game, you want to keep black unsettled, so I would recommend responding here. Imagine something like this, who knows. So white plays away, there's a kick, pincer, jump, extend. Yeah, okay, we can play this extension. I think that maybe this extension is a bit slack because white can play here. They're following on from the same logic as before. So white plays here, keeping the stone unsettled, which is good. And then black plays lightly, which is a thing you can do. And white makes a base for these stones, which is also good. Also, I guess since white doesn't know about bases, this might not have been their intention, but this is what they did with this move. For black, I guess maybe they're I guess if you're trying to surround and kill them, play the cap, but it doesn't matter. This is what's done. It's fine. Nothing wrong with this. And it's interesting actually because this invasion, I'd be yeah, this invasion's so stupid, but these stones here actually make it a little bit tricky to deal with. So imagine if you play here, then you get this shape, and then imagine if you try and cut, then black can just connect, and it's difficult for white to save the stone. And the same thing if you just play on the inside here. You could, but then this then gets surrounded, white dies. So I mean, the idea is that here, black in the corner, like you can play here, here, stuff like this. I think this is something that we'll talk about a bit later in the game, but I think this should be alive for black. And if white can't break out into the center, so say you can't do anything with this cut, maybe you could. I don't think you could because these stones are in trouble though, so you have to play here. Say you play something like this. You know, I think that eventually, white should get a bit thin. Yeah, so I don't think this would really work out for white. So this is why I'm saying that you can't play this way. So the idea is that up to here, white can't do anything more active, so they might play it more solidly in this way, and then black can maybe choose to play A or at B. If they choose B, then you can come at A, or if they extend, then you come over here. And this is okay for white, I think, because the whites kind of make some points in the corner. I guess black is kind of settled, but not super. Yeah, so this is the idea. But instead, white plays here, and this position starts to get a bit messy from this point on. So black plays here, and I mean, I guess like the peaceful player in me wants to just extend because this is broken shape here. So you might know this from your 9x9 play, but severing the connection between stones like this is quite good for white. So that's something you can aim for. But the idea is that you might be able to keep A weak, and then if black plays time, spends time there instead, then you can hurt these stones. So black kind of has to choose. So they might like push through again, and then the game might continue. But at the same time, this stone here is pretty heavily damaged. So I understand why they didn't want to play this way. So they play here, but the issue is that, I mean, here and these stones here are basically lost. So that's good for black, basically. So if these stones die, then once again black is connected, and this is something that you really want to avoid as white. This isn't what you want. That's why I would extend, because leaving the cut points open here, it's not clear how white is going to handle them. And if white is not able to handle them in a way that's successful or in a way that's good for them, then it's bad for them and they shouldn't do it. So, okay, we get the cut. Once again, we might be able to walk this back, but okay, let's just go all in. And so we're going to try and capture these stones. But once again, black gets this Atari and descends, and it's not clear how white's going to handle this. White tries, and then black can turn, and here, and then now black lives in the corner. So, like, once again, later in the game, the viewer who sent this in, they seemed to be convinced they could kill black in the corner, but the stones on the outside are weaker. Black has like 6 points. Like locally, this I guess it wouldn't be a ko, because if you capture these stones, then if you capture these stones here, then that would be good. That would mean the white is connected, basically. So that would allow them to live, and then they reduce the black doesn't get this whole area. So black would need to connect. They wouldn't be alive. Then it would be a liberty race, but I think black would win the liberty race because white has fewer on the inside here. The idea is that, like, imagine not like this. If black plays like this, white already is down to 2 liberties. Meanwhile, black still has like everything in the corner. So that's why, it's very white was able to live with these stones later, and I'll just say now that was very lucky, and we'll investigate as the game progresses as to why that was. So black plays the Atari from this side, which, okay, yeah, I guess you can do that, and then black Tanuki. So as I flag right now, white is able to kill black later, and these stones end up living. So that's a really great turnaround, and I think that this is something that we should pay attention to for this game as to how white did that, because I think that's pretty cool. So, okay, white plays over here, expanding the bottom. Black captures the stones. White gives them up. I wouldn't play here because, I mean, once again, it's early in the game. And so imagine, can we like attack these stones and make them heavy? Something like this. If white's able to save these stones, not like this, then, that black loses 8 points, but white is under really severe attack over here. So actually black gains more. So that means that this is too small to be playing now. So then white plays over here, and then I guess black can play this one. I guess this shape makes more sense because you're able to surround black, which is what you're trying to do. You're trying to seal black in, so that allows you to expand your influence over the rest of the board. You get all these stones on the outside, which is great. So yeah, this is what you're looking for. So here the shape's not quite right, but black will probably be able to tear through this, and that's exactly what they did. So that's the issue that you had. You play well. There are more weak shape moves later, but this is the first of them, I guess. Then black plays here, or no, black doesn't play here. That's my move. So okay, black plays down here, and so I would just fix this problem. We have this exchange. White then continues to expand, but keep in mind that if you expand, and if there's like you want to, how do you say, if you build a house, you want it to be on a strong foundation. If you want to put water in your bucket, you want to make sure that the water is not coming out. So here, the foundation's not strong. I mean, I guess like from here, but if this group gets weak, then that'll also reduce the amount of points that you get over here as well. So what I mean to say is keep your foundation strong and expand in this direction. You'll connect up your group. Sure, there are still these cutting points here, which means that if black invades, that they can try and exploit them in order to like make an invasion work. But this is what you'll try to do. The other thing as well is that, well, actually, I was gonna say that the other thing is that by surrounding black, that you might be able to threaten to kill them later, but if they have these stones, then you won't be able, well, yeah, they've captured them already, you won't be able to. So this is also why it's important not to let black live, because if you do end up surrounding them, then the surrounding doesn't threaten them at all. Whereas if they're not alive yet, then surrounding threatens to kill, and that gives you resources. So this is the strategy. This is what you want to do. So okay, we come this way, and then, yeah, black plays this shape. Either way, they're able to play here, and then, yeah, so they're the idea, I think I've mentioned this in other videos, that black is behind enemy lines here, but at the same time, this group is weak. So they might be able to get out. The idea is that they want to break this sector line, and that helps them to get out to safety. So white plays here, which is normally a good move. So if white had this move and there was no weakness here, then this would be great, because then there's cut and then white can continue, or, you know, whatever. So white plays this attachment and black plays these forcing moves and ends up killing these stones, which is unfortunate, but they end up making a mistake. And so white is able to capture here. So I think that they were looking at the snapback thinking, oh yeah, that must be fine. But then white makes a great point that it's not a snapback, and now these stones are dead. They're too far behind enemy lines, so it's also not going to work. And yeah, Atari, connect, fine. And these exchanges here are good for white. They weaken A, so black here makes some mistakes. They shouldn't try to save this group, basically. It's too hopeless. So they're trying, to be fair, this exchange and playing here, that's a good attempt. But unfortunately, it doesn't work. This was also a great move, in the sense that, like, Tsuji, you're revealing this cut point here. Very cool. I like it a lot. So, yeah, these stones are captured, and it doesn't work. So, yeah. So, black is trying to, and I think, like, black continues to struggle. So what I would say is, don't think of it as perhaps a bit harsh. Like, these stones didn't end up did live because you had the opportunity and then you found it and took it. But the reason why you had the opportunity was because black took this cut and white gets these forcing moves, and now black is getting really weak. So yeah, we had like up to here and here. So like black is losing all of these liberties on the outside. And eventually white realizes, hey, if I play S8, then I'm able to kill. So yeah, but that's because black was struggling out here, which was not good. So, okay, there's this exchange. I think what I mentioned here, say the same logic from the start. Like, you'd rather have this like here or like here. So like the point is that this shape here can be a little bit more efficient, and it's not, so that makes it a bit over concentrated. But okay, fine, you're alive. This move, yeah, it's the move you can play, and then white jumps to center. Black tries to do this to Tsuji, but it doesn't work because if black cuts, then they get immediately captured. So white doesn't respond, and black makes the shape, and then white plays over here. I'm not sure if this is strictly necessary, but okay, fine. But the thing is that the A group here is dead. And so the groups B and C are alive. But, and then if you had to play a move, you could play over here right now. And that means that you can also capture A. So, but the thing is that you have to make sure that the other stones are fine. That takes a bit of reading and a bit of counting. So, okay, like even if this move would be, I'm assuming that it works. It looks to me like it works. But, assuming that it works and looking like it works doesn't, that's not rigorous logic. So, fair enough. We're playing here. But I guess like the part of the thing is that as white, this is the kind of thing that you need to like be able to read, or need to try to read out if you can. So okay, we play here, no problem. Black plays his forcing move and jumps, and white's leaning on the shape here. And here I say like, well, why not just play here? Because now black is surrounded again. So white plays here instead, worrying about the cut point. But if black takes a cut, then white can exchange and play here. And I guess what can black do? Here?
I guess like
at the very least, can white make... I mean, part of the thing about making over-concentrated shape is that it becomes easier to kill because you don't have enough eye space. Assuming that's not a... let's assume we have one eye here, then... I mean, you can make this exchange here and come out, but this means that black gets extra moves here. Yeah. I guess what else can you do? If black cuts, then maybe you can try playing like this and sacrifice these stones. Because if you get to the outside here, that's way bigger. So I think I might, you can try this as well at a push. So, okay. And then here, I'm wondering, can't you just play this? If black cuts, then you're fine. And if they try and play Ko, you don't need to play the Ko. They can play whatever, but it's one eye. So I think from here, black's in trouble. So okay, black makes it through here, and then white tries to capture the stone, I guess. Probably not that big. Yeah, I guess what I would say to white, to the viewer, is that stones are valuable for either they're big enough so that their capture is substantial, which one stone is unfortunately not, and if that, it's still worth capturing that stone if it has strategic value. So if it's keeping groups separated, that tends to be the most important thing. But here it's not really keeping anything separated, so capturing this is pretty small. Once again, consider like a move in the opening is like worth 30 points. So, okay, fine, maybe it's not worth 30. You might make 100 points in the game, but so it's like 1/100th. But let's just say black. What's the next biggest endgame move? I mean, the next biggest move that you can play is over here, as to kill this group. But never mind that. What could we do? We might be able to play here and something like this. So something like this is already worth more than a point. So you get this endgame in Sente. So that would be. So if black plays this first, they make a couple of points and you lose a couple of points. And if you play instead, then you make no points and they lose like 3 points. So it's a couple, maybe 5, and then if you get it in Sente, then you double it, so that's like 10 points. So that's already way bigger. So that's, be wary about capturing these small stones here. So okay, you play here, and then I got the wrong Tasuji. You even played this contact move, and here. So the reason why this is not dead is because here you have to respond. So you played here, and then descend, and then this gives black enough time to live. So that's completely fine. But you get to kill the outside group, which is fine. I was wondering, looking at the board, if white is ahead, and then I looked at the AI, and I mean, you could just count in this case. I'm perhaps a bit lazy, but white is ahead at least by 30 points at this point. So it makes sense that black resigns. Well, doesn't make sense that black resigns. Is there anything that black can do? I don't think so. Because the A stones are pretty clearly dead. B is pretty clearly dead. there's not enough to catch up in endgame. So yeah, I'd say that it makes sense for Black to resign here. So yeah, okay, we talked about this. And then, okay, so what did I think about the game in general? So I think that I think you played pretty well. I think there's some like opening concepts that you might need to learn. I think if you watch my videos, as I ended up saying to this viewer, that if they end up watching not just the videos that I have uploading so far, but the ones that I'm going to be making in the future, like for instance, I'm going through my double digit Q games, and through those reviews, I'm able to outline to myself the kinds of concepts that I can talk about and turn into specific videos. That, you know, things about Bays, things about Broken Shape, and you know, that's going to be a big undertaking, but that's something I'm going to get to at some point. You know, if I, you know, this is going to be a long YouTube career, but yeah. So I think like once these videos start coming out, or the reviews that I'm doing for other players, I think you'll find these very helpful, and I think you'll learn a lot and improve. So I hope you enjoyed this game review. Thanks again for sending it in and sending your thoughts as well. It's much appreciated. It helps me to add some color to the review and help me to focus on how you're thinking about the game. So yeah, I've changed it from an email to a Google form. I've noticed that this tends to be like a Patreon benefit for other streamers or other Go content creators. I don't know if I'll go to that extent, you know, so fast, but I'll keep it free for now while it's still manageable. And then once it becomes too much, then I'll turn it into something that's a benefit for subbing to the channel or whatever. But anyway, so I hope that the viewer got a lot of benefit from this, and that those of you watching also get some value. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the other videos. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.